Hello to the world and to the kingdom citizens. I greet you in the precious holy name of Yeshua Messiah, Yeshua HaMashiach, who said in his word, John 8:32, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Hi, I'm Dr. John Curry, Ambassador, Pan-African, and welcome to the Embassy of the Kingdom of Heaven on Earth. If you want to follow this program, please subscribe to JC Global Embassy TV 1. Ring the bell and hit the thumbs up button. Today's message that I have for you is a message of understanding why things in South Africa went on without people really knowing what was going on, without really Black people know what was going on. So the message for today is a germ warfare program called Project Coast in South Africa. A germ warfare program called Project Coast in South Africa. Let us take a look at this clip.
Project Coast. Headed by Wouter Basson, later dubbed Dr. Death by the media, one of its goals was to develop germ weapons for use against its black population. Officially, the white regime was shunned by the world community. But in London, it emerged that British MP Norman Baker was on the same trail as Dresch. He had uncovered evidence of unofficial links between David Kelly and Project Coast.
There were connections between the British government and the apartheid regime in South Africa, and there's an open question as to how much the British government at the time, the Thatcher government, knew about Project Coast, whether they were receiving any information that was derived from Project Coast, and whether in fact they were even supporting it surreptitiously. It was clear that there was some involvement going back some time between David Kelly and Wouter Basson.
The British military lab Porton Down was clearly an important bioweapons crossroads in a world of shared secrets. What was the South African connection? And was there any link with the US anthrax attacks? The white supremacist era may be history in the new South Africa, yet its brutal legacy remains. At the height of apartheid, the fight for freedom turned the townships of South Africa into battlegrounds. The white regime began using germ warfare against select targets within the black population. Exactly what was David Kelly's connection to this dark chapter? Did a link exist to the US anthrax attacks? Perhaps Wouter Basson would know.
Good afternoon. This is Bob Cohen calling for Dr. Basson, please.
I'm sitting with a patient. Can you phone me back?
Basson, now a practicing cardiologist, was apparently unscathed by his past. He had not spoken publicly in 5 years.
I now declare that the hearing of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission is now in session.
Project Coast came to light in 1996 at the South African Truth and Reconciliation Commission. It was set up to allow victims of apartheid to testify. The commission granted amnesty to former security agents who admitted to their roles in acts of violence. Project Coast scientists testified they were developing everything from assassination tools to methods of sterilizing the black population. But Wouter Basson would admit to nothing.
Through the research reports that became available to the investigators of the Truth Commission were reports that were clearly focused on trying to find toxins that could be administered to individuals and then lead to death, but that would be undetectable post-mortem. So really it was about killing people and not being able to be found out. designing assassination weapons, classic spy stuff, umbrellas, poison-tipped umbrellas that could shoot out polycarbonate balls that would then release a poison into somebody's bloodstream and be undetectable post-mortem.
In 1999, Basson was brought to trial for murder, fraud, and drug smuggling. Witnesses described the horrors committed by Project Coast. Investigators revealed how the program had used private front companies, offshore bank accounts, and worldwide intelligence connections. It had employed 200 scientists and supplied agents like anthrax and cholera to the South African military and police.
Die staat het besluit wat die waarheid is en nooit die hof uit om dit wat daarmee ooreenstem te aanvaar.
30 months after his trial began, the judge ruled that the prosecution had failed to prove its case beyond a reasonable doubt. Basson was found not guilty of all charges. According to investigator Chandra Gould, Project Coast reached far beyond Basson and his fellow South Africans.
What came out in the trial was that he also seemed to be connected with a far more shady, underground, international chemical and biological weapons smuggling network.
The U.S. Naval Academy's Helen Perkett has spent years investigating Project Coast.
From the beginning, this idea of can we find a way to control the size of the black population was considered one of the most important areas of research. It got even more important over time as the size of the black population and the seriousness of the uprisings increased. So that's one reason why they got into genetic modification, research into is there a way to have contraceptives that could somehow basically sterilize blacks without them knowing it, and kind of all kinds of what at the time or in hindsight seemed like pretty far out research.
Yes, and this is where we are today. Whites are terrified of a genetic annihilation. Not only were they doing it in Africa in the early 1600s, 1700s, they're still doing it now. And they're doing everything in their power. And today, in the United States and across the world, where they're trying to cause genetic annihilations for black folks because they realize that they would be the one that would be annihilated if black folks continue to progress in having children and having the dominant gene. Let's take another look at this as we move forward.
Voter Basson was used to being demonized, but given the chance, would he confirm his claim that Project Coast had received support from the West?
Good evening, Dr. Basson. This is Bob Cohen. Hi, just following up. I hope you received my email.
Well, we have tomorrow and Friday and Saturday.
Did you know David Kelly? Do you have a relationship with him? I met Mr. Kelly on 3 or 4 occasions. From a pure information exchange point of view. Did you ever meet him in court now? That I can't answer. But we did meet him on a few occasions. You were able to visit Portendale, Fort Detrick? Yes, we did that. What have you been talking about? No, I wouldn't like to, because I mean, the next question that I get asked is who arranged it and why and what and where, and then, I already have hassles with the UK and American governments. I don't need any more, thank you. It's enough for me.
Basson was confirming visits to the main bioweapons labs in the West. But how far had these interactions gone? And what about the pursuit of a vaccine to render women infertile? During Basson's trial, this vaccine was characterized by many as an ethnic weapon to be used against blacks.
What happened is we had the objective